it needs to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And that inspiration, people talk about, so they say architects are magicians, because at the end of the day, somebody's gonna say, this is what I want to do, but definitely doesn't have a clear picture of what he wants to do or how it's going to happen. And then you take it and then you also analyze it, and then you begin to, I almost sort of say, think of the architect's head as a cap that takes on ingredients. So we are going to talk about your brief. I want a X size hotel. This is my budget. This is the site. This is the information that's happening. You're going to pour all of that in a cup, and then you cover it, you shake it, and then it becomes a mixture. So that's what this is. I mean, it takes a series of things to bring it together. Yeah. And for me, on this particular project, I think all my projects are special because of how I approach my work. But for me, this hotel there's a lot in this hotel. Maybe a bit of history. When I came out of school maybe 15 years ago, I used to work with a much more senior architect. And one of the first jobs I did from end to end was working with him on Alisa North Wing, landmark, over at Accra.
Yeah.
So that was my first hotel, project. It was a 44-room. Client wanted 40 rooms. We managed to make 44, which is always good value to the client because money-wise, you can make more money with the rooms. And so that's where the first relationship started between myself and Mr. Banfo. Working relationship. We knew each other because of family, but working relationship that was the first time that we met and started creating that opportunity. But I moved on from there and started my own company then. And we've done quite a number of projects as a company, Mobius Architecture, for which I am managing partner. We are partners.
Oh, okay.
But I'm the managing partner. So we did a number of projects, and then I met Mr. Banfo again. I mean, more on the work front. And he says to me, look, I have this land in Tema, and I'd like you to see what we can do with it. In fact, he had an idea of wanting to create 50 rooms here. Eventually, we created 52. But he was clear about what he wanted. And I think one of the things he said to me that really moved me was the fact that when he started business, Tema was his first check. Really? His first business came somewhere from Tema. Somewhere from Tema. And so I was like, wow, that's maybe sort of pigging back to, everything you've done. You've gone and, fought out there, you've done so well, and yet you're coming home. Because this is your first place. Yeah. So when he said that, again, to approach the work, I needed to go into history. What is Tema? Tema was created. It didn't exist. And Nkrumah created Tema.
Yes.
He created it as the city that will reshape the city. Yeah. His plan was, if you look at Tema, it's very well planned. If you drive in Tema, driving through the corridors, it's easy. You just have to know I'm headed east or I'm headed west, and the roads will all link you in that general direction. So it's hard to get lost in Tema. And that's because Nkrumah hired one of the world's leading planners at the time, Dr. to design Tema. So it's a very well planned town. And so those were the beginnings for me as an architect, to start wondering about the history of Tema, what Tema was supposed to be, what it has not become, and what it could become. So a bit of work started in looking aerially at aerial maps of Tema historically, from when it was started till now. And you realize that there was a certain plan that Tema was supposed to be. Post-colonial, post Nkrumah. In developing the city, we've destroyed what that plan was.
Really?
Yeah, we've not kept to that plan. So one of the things that's terrible about Tema is that there were a lot of open spaces that were meant for parks, for recreation. Oh. It's mostly been taken over. And even though that taking over happens, there isn't a plan to still accommodate some of those things. That's one. And number two, what I found cardinally wrong about it was how buildings meant to be oriented longitudinally north and south, because the architect must think about orientation, especially in this time when people are talking about sustainability. Now, I find that funny, but anybody who's trained well as an architect should design sustainably. You are supposed to design with the environment
from the onset.
From the onset. It's not something you learn. It's something that you learn in architecture school as a good designer, to try and make buildings sit well in the environment. And for a building to sit well in the environment, you have to think about the orientations. If we orient a building well, your energy loads are lower, so you don't spend more money on energy. If it's a private home, you may not mind. If you have the money, you keep paying the power, but that doesn't make sense. But for a hotel, you need to design it in such a way that people can still, you don't run a large cost on running the hotel, particularly through ACs and so on. Having understood that, then now coming into this building and realizing that instead of people doing the buildings longitudinally, now they have, and case in point is the school right next to us. It orients all the buildings east-west. It has a huge, terrible impact. It means that the building is now positioned to the hot part of the sun, and we are in the equator. So this linear part, I can tell you, I've never been in there, but I'm sure the students struggle with heat in that space. So obviously, one had to think about how do we reorient. This whole building is about reorientation.
Wow.
The whole concept of this building is about reorientation. It's about taking us back to our great past. It's about taking us back to what was started by Nkrumah. And one of the big statements he made, which this project is also about for me, and I think what Alisa is about, is that the black man can handle his own affairs. This is what Nkrumah was saying. Now, when you look at this project, Alisa Hotel is a strong Ghanaian brand, right?
Yes.
Which has lasted for years. The contractor on this project is a Ghanaian. The team here are Ghanaian, solid. And just proving to ourselves that given, the right beliefs in ourselves, we can create a masterpiece as this. So that's the genesis of this whole thing. You cannot just design in a vacuum. Some people make a mistake. I mean, they go on Pinterest and they see stuff and they say, I want this. It's a mistake. You don't approach design that way. Those things are only to inspire you to know what's been done before. You have to consider the environment you are in. By that, what I mean is, who's my neighbor? What's on my left? What's on my right? What's in the north and what's in the south? On this site, one of the big problems we had is the school. It's okay that you have a school, but for a hotel, which must have a recreational area and privacy, even though it's a public place, one needed to design the building to respect the school and yet respect the tenants who are going to come in, the customers who are going to come. So that started the discussion. Of course, I speak linearly, but design is not linear. It's a very zigzag. You are going forwards and backwards. You keep iterating to try and find the right answer. And for us, obviously, it became very clear that we needed to block off the views of the school. So, I couldn't put the swimming pool in the school side. Because you're dealing with two things. Prying eyes of the kids. This swimming pool is going to have people wearing bikinis and whatever. God knows, putting kids in front of that is going to definitely distract them. So you couldn't put that there. That's number one. You needed to sort of block off that. And then number two, you needed to cut off the sound. So if you realize, when you're on the school side, you hear the sound. But when you're here right now, there's no sound.
That's true.
Absolutely. So because you cannot have the school sound coming into this space. So you needed to put it here. And then the third consideration was the sun. Again, this is the west of the site. If pools must work, they must be placed in the western parts of the site. So that the sun would always have its effect. The building is, so tall, maybe 4 stories. And if you don't watch where the sun angles are, and if the sun was setting there, the shadow of the building will be on the pool. But we know the sun is setting there, so there's no way. So it's always going to be a warm pool. The water is naturally cold, so it's not just about shapes and looks and all of that. It's a number of things you are putting together to try and create a building. Wow, Mr. Banfo, he wants his stuff in time. But I must say that he was very patient with me. I asked him for 2 months. My design process takes between 4 to 6 weeks. But in his case, it took 8 weeks. Because to think
Just 8 weeks.
Well, luckily, to come up with a concept. Of course, the process is to come up with a sketchy design idea, the brainchild, to say this is how I think it's going to work. And then you do the details. You work together with a larger team of structural engineers, of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, of a quantity surveyor, of a project manager on site to make sure that everything, all the parts are moving together and simultaneously. So just to get the concept so I can show you that this is how your building is going to look, that took 2 months.
Wow.
That's part of the process. So 2 months to really think about it and come up with something. And I remember one of those evenings, I was really pressed. I was still thinking, still sketching, it wasn't coming. And this is why I always say it's inspiration. So I pray, and I prayed, slept because I couldn't figure it out. And then the next thing, I'm sleeping, and just about 3 a.m., what I see is a flash of lightning. That's what I see, but it's many ways to interpret. And immediately clarity came. So I sat by my sheet, like most of my colleagues, people go through that kind of thing where there's a certain news. Sometimes you even go out and party. Yeah. And whilst you are partying, something is happening. You're going to see someone, and by the time you see the creative is lost, he's going to try and figure it out because something has, sort of jigged that. So that happened to me. I started drawing, and everything came together. It was like magic. All the rooms, how the rooms will be set up, the fact that the rooms will look into the courtyard, which is what it is. You see the privacy that will be given to the rooms, double banking, so now you're sitting here and the suites are all up there looking down into the courtyard. Okay. You know what I mean? Because you want them to watch the price, which is the swimming pool area and the public area. It's about people. So that started the discussion. I feel that we made an effort to try and take the brand a step further. Exactly. Now, when you look at Alisa in Accra, the idea of branding had to change here. A lot of people unfortunately have this impression that branding is colors.
No, it's not.
Branding is not colors.
It's not colors.
No, branding, so we can walk to the front, yes, but branding is not colors. Branding is values. Absolutely. So in sort of thinking about Alisa, we needed to ask ourselves, beyond the colors, what is he trying to actually communicate? Exactly. And the sense we got about Alisa was that not being about the colors, it was being about warmth. It was being about respecting, us as a Ghanaian people and the space. And that's why he stayed in the business all these years. There are a lot of people who do it for a short while and run out. But Alisa has been there for how many years now? 25?
Yes, approximately, yeah.
I think so. So, or more, but it's been there. I mean, luckily I schooled Northridge Lyceum close to Sunrise Hotel until they bought it and started. So
you have like a connection.
Connection from my childhood, on the location and all of that. Yes. I lived in Ridge, so I know the space. So I'm like, wow, then it's not about the colors. It's about the green color represents, disrespect for nature. And all, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, we have to change the glass colors from this green that gives you reflective, but instead open the opportunity for people to look at and to be seen, inside the building. That's one. And again, to also tone down the use of color on the building to make it more gray so that the furniture, the greenery, the people will be celebrated more than the building itself. So it's almost an inverse kind of thing, giving it to the people instead of giving it through the building. But eventually doing that will make the building actually stand out, the people. So those thoughts started coming to mind. And then again, if you look at this screen, which we are looking at right now, which is there for purpose and also for beauty. And I think those are some of the core ideas I flirt with when I'm designing. Work mostly in Ghana and in West Africa because for me, I think architects are most needed here. Sure. There's no point. Europe has had good architecture for many years and centuries.
Many centuries.
I think that we need a stock of good designers and good architects to help build the country, and I think this is the essence of it. So most of our work is here. Notable work. We're working with ANC Mall. ANC is about to build a new mall.
It's right opposite our office.
Oh, I know, but that's the ANC corner. So that's the builder's warehouse side of it. And you have the ANC Mall. But now what they've done is they put the two together. And in time, they'll be building in Oyibi on a 26-acre property, which is our next project. But the University of Ghana Business School, we are just about to do a new building for them.
At
the new campus, at the graduate campus. So we're about to do, actually we won the contract to do the whole development of 19.6. Wow, nice question. I'm a father of two beautiful girls, Sophie and Olivia.
How old?
7 and...
Whoa, you're still in the early stages.
Yeah, very much in the early stages. I mean, Sophie will be 7 in December, Oli will be 4.
Ooh.
So they are young kids.
Olen or Oli?
Oli, well, I call her Oli, but she's Olivia. And
okay.
Yeah, so father of two. I actually thought about this question, who am I? I think thinking about it, I'm somebody who loves people very much. I love, I want to see people succeed, everybody. I'm not one of those people who thinks that certain people deserve to succeed and others don't. I think you need to put in the hard work, but you just want to see people succeed. As I stand right now, I am, and interestingly, by the end of this month, I step down as the Honorary Secretary of the Ghana Institute of Architects, and that's at the highest level of the practice, 7 for the last 4 years. I'm also on the board of the Architects Registration Council, nominated by the President, and then also I serve as a trustee board member of a new school of thought called the African Futures Institute. So I'm about independence. I think things should be simple. I believe that we should have a better country, and that we all, you doing your work and being an expert at what you do, me doing my work, and each one of us will play to make this country a greater country. I'm not a fan of always praising foreigners or foreign countries. Just because we grew up in this time where they keep telling you how you can't do this, how you can't do that. And I think the human spirit is not about that. The human spirit is about being able to project and to do those things. So yeah, I'm a believer in the country, in my people. I've had opportunities to stay outside. I don't think that's where my calling is.
You mentioned you did your schooling here in Ghana.
Of course, I did it fully here. KNUST, very excited. Everything.
Wow.
Everything. It's possible. You don't have to. Yeah.
Travel abroad.
It's good to travel to see. It's good to travel to see, to experience. Exactly. There's great experience out there. It's good. But let's get off this idea that we need to go in school and we need to build great institutions here. So Ashesi University taught there for 1.5 years as an adjunct professor in design. We can do it. I mean, Patrick Ewua went out there, he's come back, said Ashesi. I think that's what the new Ghanaian is about. It's about looking within, because we are the very people who are going to solve our problems. Exactly. Mr. Banfo, the Alisa Group are the same people who are going to solve the problem of Tema by building, these individual buildings that will influence the community. If you look at the front of this building, the car parking and the public space, what we did was to have this lawn, bring the brand to the people of Tema. So you can imagine if there's like Benz who has a Silver Star, who has a factory somewhere, they're bringing maybe the latest S-Class or one of their new J-Class. They can put it here and the public can come and look at it. Exactly. And you can see the use of Clearview fence, just linking the building to the people. Of course, we need to protect, because of theft and all of that, and make our clients feel secure, but we don't need to build up walls. A new trend. I mean, you can use Clearview fencing, which still gives you top security, but it blurs the barrier. So people feel like I can go to this hotel. So now as Tema traverses that main road, which is actually the only portal, trust me, if there's another road here, this whole wall would not be a wall because it has to be a boundary between us and the neighbor. But it would have been Clearview fence all the way through, just allowing people to engage with the brand and realize that it's for us as the people. We need to enjoy these facilities. We need to patronize these facilities. Wow, nice question. I knew I wanted to be an architect in class 3.
Really?
I didn't understand what it was, but it was a group of friends. So I'm a twin. My twin brother, we were in Northridge Lyceum together with 2 friends of mine, Eugene Van Dyke and Nia Yankra, who is now, they're all in the medical field. Nia is a plastic surgeon. And we sat under a tree and they asked me, the first question was, what are we all going to be? So the first question came to me, I just said I want to be an architect. At the time now, I think about it and I'm asking myself, how did I know? Because I don't even know where it came from. But as time went on, I don't think I ever had any interest in doing anything else. I never, people sort of switch to, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a doctor.
I switched to like 5 or 6.
I know, so I feel like I'm one of the blessed ones because what I set out to be interested in has stayed the same, and even now, I mean, somebody asked me, says, if they brought you back again, would you still be an actor? I said, I think it's the most fantastic job in the world because you get to work with people of all backgrounds, of all natures, to try and shape futures. Now that's what this building does. It tries to shape a future. It tries to raise our status quo. It tries to raise our aspiration and to give us hope that we can. You know, Obama says, yes, we can. This is really more about that. You know, how do you bring craftsmen from the guys who did the steel work? You definitely want to look at the woodwork.
Ghanaian.
Yeah, Mr. Wood. Mr. Wood did the steel work. And these are through drawings we drew, his participation, did the CNC cutting, and put this all up. It's possible. Why do we doubt that we can do these things? We can. The craftsmen are here. You know, the craftsmen are here. So we brought them together. We brought Shadi Dakmak, who's, you know, SD Properties, who's been in this country all his life. The woodwork and the joinery, you know, they handled that. We drew it pencil for pencil, you know, making sure that everything was done. And it's been implemented to the T. The ceilings, the floating ceilings that almost mimic the waves. On that, I'm very grateful to Mr. Bam for heeding to my, I mean, we didn't do a tender for this contractor. Asha Glade and David India. If you look at the building and the walls, everything is straight. And you know, a lot of the time, the problem we have in this country is how our craftsmen don't build things to the T, build things to straightness. But you're looking at the tiles, look around, and you should take the details. What I've drawn on paper is what has been built. I'm a stickler for what must be done. And you also need somebody who can deliver that. And Asha Gladden did that job. They've done amazing in trying to deliver the dream that was on paper into the reality. So you should see the pictures. That's, you know, normally you would create a render.
Yes,
and then now the building, when you look at the two,
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. You know, so we delivered the dream for the client. And I know Mr. Banfo is very excited about what is coming out, and you know, we really look forward to what the public will come and engage with. The space, the brand. Alisa has great food, good service, great service, and just to bring a brand like this to a port town like Tema as a new business hotel, I think is something that Tema deserves and has been long in coming. On that wing, you have the auditorium. It's a 350-seater auditorium. When we get down, I'll show you. Yeah, 350, which can be divided into two sides. Wow. I'll show you when we get down there, but I think maybe best we go up, and then I show you all the others, and then when we get down, I'll show you that. But these two rooms are conference rooms, because you know the biggest selling item for hotels is conferencing. So this floor now is the bedrooms.
Ooh.
So it's a mixture of bedroom sizes. I think, I don't know if the doors are open, but it gives you different feels of the bedroom. So you walk in your corridor. Trust me, this is the first time I'm seeing this with a carpet too.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're finishing the carpet, so on and so forth. Wallpaper, very subtle, everything made here.
Everything is so like, I don't know what words to describe this.
It's possible, I mean, it's possible. Everything in line,
and
properly done.
Made here.
Made here. All this is made here. All this is made here. So it's a corridor that leads to a staircase, fire escape, and out. Okay. But all these lead into rooms. These rooms look to the swimming pool, and you have the other ones that look to the tennis court and the back of house. You know.
Oh, so you're able to block the view of the school.
Absolutely. So the school doesn't. You can't even hear the school from here, right?
You can't.
But that's a big challenge.
And you don't even have the surround sound, like the audio even playing yet.
Absolutely, but the audio is going to come. So yeah, so this gives you a view to the swimming pool area. It's all about detail and trying to bring out the building. So Sky Terrace, Sky Bar, outdoor, indoor space, connects with the city. Like you can see those views. So people will sit here. General idea, to have TV sockets there.
This is plastic, or is
it's actually
fiber?
Wood. It's wood. It's actually wood.
It's wood.
It's wood. Yeah, this is wood. This is wood. Yeah. Through the bathroom, so your guests can use the bathroom, and then you can use the bathroom from your side. And living, the kitchen. This part we built here in Ghana. This section. This one. Wow. So let's go to the auditorium.
The auditorium.
Parking wise, we've more than over provided. We have 100 car parking here. The hotel code will tell you that you need 1 car per room, and if there are 52 rooms here, we should only provide 52. But we've provided because one of the problems you have is parking for facilities. I mean, people just don't think about these things. You have to think about these things.
Streets.
Yeah, you can't just park by the street, you know. You need to accommodate your guests well. People need to feel secure.
Because you have conferencing facilities.
Of course.
Definitely.
Of course.
You would have, you need.
I mean, the truth is that your guests will not all come with cars. Most of them won't. 50 can go up to 400. But what you see is the partition door.
Oh.
Once you close this is 150, 200, 150, 200.
Oh.
So depending on the size of conference you have, so entry, your sound room, your washrooms. So there's a sound lobby. So
is this wood?
Yeah, this is wood. This we bought from China, but the ones they are being done here. The ones on that wall will be done here by Shadi and his group.
We have to buy from there because we don't produce here.
Yeah, that's the problem. But until we start having industries, we can't really do much. We need to start having industries. But the craftsmen are here, and I'm very happy about that. So this is the conference facility. It looks like a simple structure, but think about it. All the rooms are above this.
Yeah.
This is typically using crane technology to design this. 350, 400 seater can be divided into two. And then when you look beyond the tennis court,
okay,
the services, we'll go through the back. Yeah. And then this is a breakout area for the auditorium. So sometimes when you come out here, when people have to have drinks,
lunch,
they can come up here. You set up canopies and so on. Here, and then your service.
You can have a whole event.
Yeah, this is an event garden. So you can have your wedding. You can sort of have your wedding church here, or and then come out and party on this side. So all these are considered. Like I said, function and beauty.
And beauty.
It can't just be one way. This is an international style. Yeah, it's huge. It's a proper tennis court. The owner loves tennis with his friends, so that and the community get to come and play tennis here. I've also future-proofed this project to further. This is 50 rooms. In the future, if you can imagine, and when God blesses client, they make money, so on, they can actually project another 100 rooms just on this section. So it's already future-proofed. You don't have to go and buy another site. You can use the same property, and don't worry, I have it's in my mind. Like I said,
Wow.
So yeah. So you sort of have to, like I said, sustainability. How does it grow? How does it grow? So it's 50. He will be very oversubscribed. Then he realizes I've paid my debt, and there's more opportunities to make money. And we've thought about how you can expand the tower that will tower above that in the future. So as you design, you're sort of thinking about the future. This is all part of our work to give value to our clients. Value for money. So, well, in a nutshell, I think this is the effort that we made.